So my name's Robin Carhart-Harris. I head up a research group at Imperial College London with a Centre for Psychedelic Research. We focus on how psychedelic drugs work in the brain and how they may be therapeutically useful. I think when tackling this question of how do psychedelic drugs work in the brain, it's the best way to address this, in my view, is to have a good balance between looking at the phenomenology, so the subjective experience itself, and peering into the black box, doing your brain imaging and looking at what the brain's doing. And the inferences that you make on the mapping between what's going on in the brain when you look at it with brain imaging and what it looks like when you have subjective reports, it's very important to not get too wedded to either one of those perspectives. So try and sort of weight them evenly, because you can have insights about the phenomenology, about the experience itself, by looking at the brain. You can actually learn a few things, equally looking at the brain, you can quite intuitively start to flesh out what you're seeing in the brain from knowing what it's like in terms of the subjective experience. And so there are things like the classic ego dissolution that you see at big doses of psychedelics, that breaking down of sense of separateness, and that's a separateness between you as an individual and other people, a separateness between you as an individual and the environment that you're in, nature, animals, but also a separateness within yourself as well, that we forget things that we've experienced in our lives. Maybe we push them down on purpose because they're painful, or maybe they've just naturally kind of ebbed away in their vividness for us. But that's where psychedelics are truly mind-revealing, that forgotten material and that forgotten continuity between yourself as an individual and other people, that you're all part of this, living family, not just human family, but sort of life family. And there's so much is shared, and then all the content that's in our minds that we've forgotten that now can just percolate up, when you're not necessarily looking for it, it can just, arise in our minds, and here it's taking us to the cusp of what we know about the neuroscience, because we don't quite yet have it nailed what accounts for the principal property of psychedelic drugs, at least psychologically, and what gives them their name, that they're mind revealing. Why is that when you look in the brain? And my best guess, which probably fair to say more or less the best guess that we have in the field, is that ordinarily the brain operates to suppress out a huge amount of information, and it does that for reasons of efficiency and functionality, really. That's not a new idea, Aldous Huxley had those ideas, but it's now become really that perspective, I would say the dominant perspective in both psychology and neuroscience, that the brain, as Huxley said, his more or less exact words, the brain is in essence it's eliminating, rather than some kind of direct sort of sense of the world out there. We impose models of the way the world is, based both on learned experience, but also from learned experience back when, in terms of our evolutionary learning and what we come into this world with already, which is quite a lot, And so we impose those models, those internal models, on our experience of the world. But under psychedelics, the weightiness of those models, the precision of those models seem to break down. And like so much in nature, the brain's organized in a hierarchical way, and it seems as though it's those top aspects of the hierarchy that start to break down in precision and weightiness. And the effect of that is to allow aspects of the brain that ordinarily would be suppressed by these higher level aspects of mind and brain. It allows them to be heard more freely. And that's more or less the best guess that we have. I could put some, I could offer some regions that are implicated here, like the limbic system, the old brain, the mammalian brain, that aspect of brain that we share so much with, like rodents or any kind of mammals. Mammals being characterized in their behavior by things like attachment, maternal attachment, very clear emotional behavior. We share that, and yet in humans, what sets us apart as animals, really, weird animals, is just the sheer amount of cortex that we have, all that crinkly stuff that overlays the old mammalian brain. But I think it's reasonable to say, borrowing from brain imaging, borrowing from the rest of cognitive neuroscience or human neuroscience, and also looking at the phenomenology, that what's happening under psychedelics to explain this mind-revealing quality is that the new brain, that analytical brain that humans, it certainly characterizes us, but sometimes we perhaps excessively pride ourselves on, and maybe gets us into trouble, breaks down. And then that old brain starts to be more easily heard. And that can account for the intense emotional quality of psychedelic experiences, the grounding human quality of those experiences, and probably that sense that we're not so different from each other. We all share, the highs and lows of what it is to live. And that can come, more easily to the fore when that more recent analytical mind that human beings have gets scrambled for a period.